The wrench slipped from my greasy fingers as Lucy's voice drifted through the garage window. 3 months of marriage counseling, and here she was at midnight, whispering sweet nothings to someone who definitely wasn't me. "He doesn't suspect a thing," she said, her voice carrying that honey-sweet tone I hadn't heard directed at me in months. "Tomorrow night at the Marriott downtown, room 412. I crouched lower behind my 1987 Mustang, the car that had somehow become my sanctuary from domestic bliss. 23 years of marriage, 2 kids, and a tech startup that actually turned profitable last year. Life should have been good. Instead, I was hiding in my own garage like some suburban spy. "William, you know I can't keep doing this much longer," Lucy continued. "The divorce papers are ready. My lawyer says I'll get the house, the business, everything. Then we can be together properly." William. Of course it was William Hartwell, her biggest client at the marketing firm, the guy who drove a Tesla and wore suits that cost more than most people's rent. I'd met him at company parties, shaken his manicured hand, listened to him drone on about market penetration strategies. Turns out he had his own penetration strategy in mind. Lucy's laughter tinkled through the night air like broken glass. "Trust me, darling. By next month, David will be living in some studio apartment, and you and I will be planning our European vacation." The phone call ended, and I heard her heels clicking across the kitchen floor above. I stayed crouched behind the Mustang for another 10 minutes, processing what I'd just learned. My wife of 23 years was planning to take me to the cleaners and run off with Mr. Corporate America. Here's the thing about being underestimated your entire life. You learn to pay attention. While Lucy saw a distracted tech nerd who spent too much time coding and not enough time appreciating her new designer handbags, I'd been watching. I'd noticed the late meetings, the new lingerie that never made an appearance in our bedroom, the way she'd started treating me like an inconvenient roommate rather than a husband. I climbed out from behind the car and wiped my hands on an old rag. The Mustang's engine gleamed under the fluorescent lights, every component restored to perfection. Funny how you can fix a classic car but not a broken marriage. My phone buzzed with a text from my business partner, Jake. "Board meeting moved to Thursday. The Peterson acquisition looks solid. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories." Peterson Industries had been courting us for months, wanting to buy our cybersecurity firm for an amount that would set me up for life. Lucy didn't know about the offer yet. I'd been planning to surprise her with the news, maybe take that European vacation she'd been hinting about. Looks like William beat me to it. I walked upstairs to find Lucy already in bed, pretending to sleep. Her breathing was too controlled, too perfect. Real sleep is messy, with little snorts and position changes. This was performance sleep. "Long day at the office?" I asked, settling into my side of the bed. She mumbled, not opening her eyes. "Client dinner ran late." "Which client?" A pause, just long enough to construct the lie. "The Henderson account. You know how demanding they are." Henderson Industries had been out of business for 6 months. I'd seen the bankruptcy filing while doing background checks for potential clients. Lucy clearly hadn't done her homework. "Of course," I said. "Sweet dreams, honey." I lay there in the dark, listening to her fake sleep, and started planning. If Lucy wanted to play games, I'd show her what a real strategist looked like. The next morning brought the usual domestic theater. Lucy bustled around the kitchen in her power suit, checking her phone every 30 seconds and avoiding eye contact. "Coffee's fresh," she said, not looking up from her screen. "Thanks." I poured myself a cup and pretended to read the news on my tablet. Really, I was watching her reflection in the kitchen window, noting how she typed with the secretive urgency of a teenager hiding something from her parents. "I'll be late again tonight," she announced. "Big presentation tomorrow." "For Henderson Industries?" Her fingers froze over the phone screen. "What?" "You mentioned them last night, the demanding client." "Oh, right. Yes, they're very particular about their messaging." I nodded sympathetically. Must be challenging, working with a company that's been out of business since March. The color drained from Lucy's face like someone had pulled a plug. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried for a laugh that came out strangled. "That's a different Henderson company," she said. "This is Henderson Marketing Solutions, out of Chicago." "Of course, my mistake." She grabbed her purse and headed for the door with the urgency of someone fleeing a crime scene. "See you tonight, or tomorrow morning, depending on how late we run." After she left, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and admiring the view of our perfectly manicured suburban street. The house was worth about $800,000, the cars another $150,000 combined. Lucy's jewelry collection, her designer wardrobe, the boat we'd bought last summer. She'd probably calculated it all down to the last penny. Too bad she'd missed a few important details. I called my mother, Helen Richardson, a 70-year-old former corporate lawyer who'd taught me everything I knew about reading contracts and people. "David, sweetheart, how are things?" "Interesting, Mom. I need a favor." "Legal or personal?" "Both. Can you meet me for lunch today? I have some documents I'd like you to review." "Of course. The usual place?" "Perfect. 1 o'clock. The usual place was Murphy's Deli, a hole-in-the-wall joint downtown where the pastrami was legendary and the booths provided privacy for sensitive conversations. Mom had been taking me there since I was 12, teaching me about business over corned beef sandwiches. I spent the morning in my home office, pulling together financial records, account statements, and legal documents. The picture that emerged was interesting, very interesting. 6 months ago, when Lucy started acting distant, I'd quietly begun transferring assets. Nothing dramatic or suspicious, just routine financial planning that any responsible business owner might do. The house deed now listed my mother as co-owner. The business accounts had been restructured. The boat was registered in Mom's name. Lucy's lawyer, whoever he was, would find that the marital assets available for division had shrunk considerably. My phone rang, Jake from the office. "Dave, Peterson Industries called again. They want an answer by Friday. Are we selling or not?" "What's their latest offer?" $4.2 million, final offer." I did some quick math. After taxes and splitting with Jake, I'd walk away with about $1.8 million. Not enough to retire, but enough to start over comfortably. "Can you stall them until Monday? I need the weekend to think." "Sure, but they are getting antsy. This kind of opportunity doesn't come around often." "I know. Trust me, I'll have an answer Monday morning." I hung up and continued gathering documents. Lucy thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. Time to show her the difference between a good player and a great one. At Murphy's Deli, Mom was already seated in our usual booth, reading a legal journal over coffee. Helen Richardson had retired from corporate law 5 years ago, but she kept up with changes in the field like a general studying enemy troop movements. "You look tired," she said as I slid into the booth. "Marriage will do that to you." "Ah." She folded the journal and gave me her full attention. "What's Lucy done now?" I filled her in on the midnight phone call, the lies about Henderson Industries, and my suspicions about the affair. Mom listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or raising an eyebrow. "So you want to protect your assets before she files for divorce," she said when I finished. "The transfers we did 6 months ago should handle most of it, but I want to make sure we haven't missed anything." She reviewed the documents I'd brought, making notes on a legal pad. "This is good work. The house, the boat, most of the liquid assets are protected. What about the business?" "Peterson Industries wants to buy us out. $4.2 million. "When?" "They want an answer by Friday." Mom's eyes lit up with the predatory gleam that had made her one of the most feared contract negotiators in the city. "Perfect timing. If you sell before Lucy files for divorce, the proceeds become separate property, especially if you can show the negotiations began before the marriage deteriorated." "That's what I was thinking." "There's one more thing you should consider," she said, lowering her voice. "Documentation." "What kind of documentation?" "The kind that proves adultery. Massachusetts is a no-fault divorce state, but judges still consider marital misconduct when dividing assets. If you can prove she's been unfaithful, it strengthens your position considerably." I thought about the hotel room Lucy had mentioned. Room 412 at the Marriott downtown. I might be able to arrange something. "Be careful," Mom warned. "Don't do anything illegal or that could backfire. But if opportunity presents itself..." "I understand." We finished lunch discussing strategy. By the time I walked back to my car, I had a plan. Lucy wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that some games have consequences. That evening, I sat in my car across from the downtown Marriott, watching the entrance like a private investigator in a bad movie. Lucy had texted at 5:30. "Working late again, don't wait up." At 7:15, William Hartwell's silver Tesla pulled up to the valet stand. He stepped out wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment, checked his Rolex, and strode into the hotel with the confidence of a man who'd never faced real consequences for anything. 10 minutes later, Lucy's BMW arrived. She'd changed clothes since this morning. Gone was the conservative business suit, replaced by a black dress that I hadn't seen before. New lingerie, new dress, new lies. At least she was consistent. I waited another 15 minutes, then walked into the hotel lobby. The Marriott downtown was the kind of place that catered to business travelers with expense accounts, all marble floors and leather furniture designed to impress clients and justify inflated room rates. The elevator bank was visible from the lobby seating area. I bought a newspaper from the gift shop and settled into a chair with a clear view, pretending to read while watching for familiar faces. My phone had a decent camera, and I'd learned enough about photography from my daughter Emma's high school yearbook committee to know about lighting and angles. If Lucy and William decided to make a public appearance, I'd be ready. They didn't disappoint. At 9:30, they emerged from the elevator together, William's hand resting possessively on Lucy's lower back. They were laughing about something, Lucy's head tilted back in that way she used to laugh at my jokes 20 years ago. I snapped photos as discreetly as possible, capturing them walking through the lobby, William helping Lucy with her coat, the kiss they shared before getting into separate cars. Not exactly courtroom-quality evidence, but enough to establish a pattern. The next morning, Lucy was already gone when I woke up. A note on the kitchen counter explained she had an early client meeting and would be home late again. The note was signed with a little heart, which somehow made the deception worse. I called Jake and told him to accept Peterson Industries' offer. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Once we sign, there's no going back." "I'm sure. Set up the meeting for Monday. I want this done quickly." "What's the rush?" "Let's just say my circumstances are about to change dramatically." Next, I called a locksmith and had the locks changed on my home office. Lucy had never shown much interest in my business affairs, but desperate people do desperate things. I wanted my financial records secure. Then I drove to the marina where we kept our boat. The harbor master was an old friend named Pete, who'd served in the Navy with my father 30 years ago. "Dave, how's the family?" "Complicated, Pete. Listen, I need a favor." "Name it." "That slip rental for the Wanderer. Can you transfer it to my mother's name? Some insurance issues I need to sort out." "Sure thing. Just need her signature on the paperwork." "She'll be by this afternoon." The boat was a 30-foot cabin cruiser we'd bought the previous summer during happier times. Lucy had insisted on naming it Wanderer because she said it represented our spirit of adventure. Now it seemed prophetic for different reasons. By Thursday evening, I had all my pieces in position. The business sale would close Monday morning. The house deed listed my mother as co-owner. The boat was registered in Mom's name. Most of our liquid assets had been quietly moved to accounts Lucy couldn't touch. I was ready for whatever came next. It came Friday morning in the form of a process server who rang our doorbell at 7:30. "David Richardson?" "That's me." "You've been served." The divorce papers were exactly what I'd expected, with one notable exception. Lucy wasn't just asking for half of everything. She wanted it all. The house, the business, the cars, even my vintage guitar collection. According to her filing, I'd been emotionally absent and financially irresponsible throughout our marriage. The petition also included a request for immediate temporary support of $5,000 per month, plus payment of her legal fees. I was reading through the documents when Lucy came downstairs, already dressed for work. "Good morning," she said brightly, as if she hadn't just tried to financially destroy me. I held up the papers. Interesting reading material. Her mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. Then the fake smile returned. "David, I know this is difficult, but we both know this marriage has been over for a long time. I'm just trying to make the process as fair as possible." "Fair?" I laughed. "You want everything I've worked for my entire adult life, plus monthly payments, and you call that fair?" "You'll be fine," she said dismissively. "You're smart. You'll figure something out." "I already have." Something in my tone made her pause. "What do you mean?" "Nothing, honey. Have a great day at work. Say hello to William for me." The color drained from her face. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Room 412, Marriott downtown. Black dress, new lingerie. Should I continue?" Lucy's composure cracked completely. She grabbed the kitchen counter for support, her knuckles turning white. "You followed me." "I didn't have to. You're not nearly as clever as you think you are." "David, I can explain." "I'm sure you can, but I don't want to hear it. Your lawyer can explain it to my lawyer." She stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to calculate how much damage I could do with what I knew. Then her expression hardened into something I'd never seen before, pure, undisguised hatred. "You have no idea what you're dealing with," she said quietly. "I will destroy you. Get in line." After she left, I called the lawyer Mom had recommended, a guy named Robert Chen who specialized in high-conflict divorces. "Mr. Richardson, I've reviewed the petition your wife filed. It's quite aggressive." "That's one word for it. Can we fight it?" "Absolutely, especially if you have evidence of adultery. Massachusetts judges don't like being lied to, and your wife's attorney has made some very bold claims about marital assets." "What kind of claims?" They're asking for immediate control of your business accounts and assets pending final divorce decree. Standard intimidation tactic. But it can be effective if the other party isn't prepared. I'm prepared. Good. Can you be in my office Monday morning at 9? We need to file our response quickly. I'll be there. I spent the weekend in my garage, working on the Mustang and thinking about the next phase of my plan. Lucy wanted to destroy me? Fine. But she was about to learn that some battles are won before they're even fought. Monday morning brought two pieces of excellent news. First, the Peterson Industries deal closed without a hitch, depositing $1.8 million into an account Lucy didn't know existed. Second, her lawyer's face when Robert Chen presented our response to her divorce petition was apparently priceless. How did it go? I asked Chen when he called that afternoon. Better than expected? When I showed them the documentation proving your mother co-owns the house and most other assets, opposing counsel went very quiet very quickly. What about the business? That's where things get interesting. Since you sold the company before she filed for divorce, and we can prove the negotiations began months ago, the proceeds are separate property. Her lawyer was not happy. I imagine not. There's more. I presented the photographs you took at the Marriott, along with the hotel records I subpoenaed. Your wife's attorney tried to claim the affair started after you separated, but the hotel records show they've been meeting there regularly for 4 months. 4 months, even longer than I'd suspected. So where does that leave us? In a very strong position. I expect they'll want to negotiate rather than go to trial. Adultery cases are messy, and your wife has a public reputation to consider. That evening, Lucy came home from work looking like she'd been hit by a truck. Her usual perfect composure was gone, replaced by the haggard appearance of someone who'd spent the day getting very bad news. We need to talk, she said. I'm listening. My lawyer says you've hidden assets, that you've been planning this for months. Your lawyer is half right. I have been planning for months, but I haven't hidden anything. I've protected what's mine. The house is co-owned by my mother as of 6 months ago. Perfectly legal financial planning. The business was sold this morning. Again, perfectly legal. Lucy sank into a kitchen chair, the fight going out of her like air from a punctured tire. David, please, we can work this out. The affair, it was a mistake. I was confused, lonely. We can go to counseling, start over. Like we did 3 months ago, when you were already meeting William at hotels? She flinched. How long have you known? Long enough. The question is, what happens now? What do you want? I sat down across from her, studying the face I'd loved for 23 years. Somewhere under the lies and betrayal was the woman I'd married, but I couldn't find her anymore. I want a clean divorce. No alimony, no asset division beyond what's legally required. You keep your car, your jewelry, your clothes. I keep everything else. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed bitterly. You tried to take everything I've worked for my entire adult life so you could run off with your boyfriend. Don't talk to me about fair. What about the kids? Emma was 19 and away at college. Daniel was 16 and would be 18 soon. Both were old enough to understand what was happening and make their own choices about relationships. The kids will be fine. They're not stupid, Lucy. They'll figure out what really happened here. And if I don't agree to your terms? I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos from the Marriott. Then we go to trial, and these become public record, along with the hotel receipts, the phone records my lawyer subpoenaed, and whatever other evidence we dig up. How do you think that will affect your career? Lucy stared at the photos, her face cycling through anger, fear, and resignation. You bastard, she whispered. I learned from the best. She left that night, presumably to stay with William or her sister. I didn't ask and didn't care. For the first time in months, I had the house to myself. I called Emma at college to give her a sanitized version of events. Dad, are you okay? She asked. Mom called earlier, crying about lawyers and money. I'm fine, sweetheart. Your mother and I are getting divorced, but it won't affect your college or anything else you need. Is it true she was cheating? Emma was smart, just like her grandmother. No point in lying. Yes. A long pause. I'm sorry, Dad. That sucks. It does. But sometimes things happen for a reason. I'll be okay. Do you need me to come home? No, honey. Focus on school. This will all be sorted out soon. Next, I called Daniel. At 16, he was old enough for honesty, but young enough to need reassurance. Dad, Mom said you're trying to steal all her money. That's not exactly accurate, son. We're getting divorced, and we're working out how to divide our assets fairly. She was crying. I know. Divorce is hard on everyone, but you and Emma are the most important thing to both of us. That won't change. Can I stay with you? Of course. This is your home. After the calls, I sat in my kitchen drinking a beer and planning the next phase. Lucy would probably try to negotiate through her lawyer, looking for some face-saving compromise that would let her walk away with something. I was prepared to be reasonable, within limits. What I wasn't prepared for was the call I received Wednesday morning from my business partner, Jake. "Dave, we have a problem. Someone's been calling our old clients, telling them we sold confidential information to Peterson Industries." "What? That's ridiculous." "I know, but 3 clients have already called asking questions. If this keeps up, it could hurt both our reputations." I didn't need to ask who might be spreading rumors about my business practices. Lucy knew enough about my work to make the lies sound credible, at least initially. "Any idea who's making the calls?" "The clients won't say, but they all mentioned getting calls from someone claiming to be a former employee with inside information." "I'll handle it." "How?" "Trust me." I called Robert Chen and explained the situation. "This could be considered harassment or defamation," he said. "If we can prove your wife is behind it, we can add it to our divorce filing." "What would that accomplish?" "Judges don't like parties who engage in vindictive behavior during divorce proceedings. It could affect the final settlement." "Do it." That evening, I decided to pay William Hartwell a visit. Lucy wanted to play dirty? Fine. But she dragged an innocent third party into our marriage, and it was time he understood the full scope of what he'd gotten himself into. William lived in a luxury condo downtown, the kind of place with a doorman and valet parking. I waited across the street until I saw his Tesla pull up, then followed him into the building. "Excuse me," I called out as he waited for the elevator. "William Hartwell." He turned, and I saw recognition dawn in his eyes. "David Richardson, Lucy's husband." "Soon-to-be ex-husband. Can we talk?" He glanced around the lobby nervously. "I don't think that's appropriate." "Probably not, but I think you should know what you're getting into with Lucy." The elevator arrived, and after a moment's hesitation, he gestured for me to get on. His condo was everything I'd expected. Expensive furniture, city views, and the sterile perfection of someone who paid a decorator to create personality. "Drink?" he offered. "No thanks. This won't take long." He poured himself a scotch and sat down across from me. "What do you want?" "To give you some friendly advice. Lucy's not who you think she is." "I know she's married." "Was married. But that's not what I mean. Do you know she's been spreading lies about my business to try to damage my reputation?" His face went carefully blank. "I don't know anything about that." "Of course not. But here's what you should know. Lucy doesn't love you. She loves what you represent. Money, status, security. When she gets bored or finds someone with more to offer, she'll do to you exactly what she did to me." "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I? How did your relationship start, William? Did she pursue you, or was it the other way around?" His hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "She researched you," I continued. "Found out about your divorce settlement, your business interests, your vulnerabilities. Lucy's very good at becoming exactly what men want her to be, for a while." "You're just bitter because she chose me over you." "Maybe. But ask yourself this. What happens when the novelty wears off? When she realizes that being a corporate executive's girlfriend isn't as exciting as she thought? What happens when someone richer, more powerful, more interesting comes along?" I stood up to leave. "Just remember this conversation when it happens, because it will happen." "Get out," he said quietly. "Gladly. Oh, and William? You might want to check your company's ethics policies regarding relationships with clients. I'd hate for this to affect your career." I left him sitting in his perfect condo, staring into his scotch glass. Maybe I'd planted a seed of doubt, maybe not. But at least he couldn't say he hadn't been warned. The real confrontation was still coming. The final showdown came exactly where I'd expected it to, in Robert Chen's conference room on a gray Thursday morning in November. Lucy sat across from me looking like she'd aged 5 years in 2 weeks, her lawyer beside her shuffling through papers with the desperate energy of someone trying to salvage an unsalvageable situation. "Let's cut to the chase," her attorney said. "My client is willing to accept a 50-50 split of marital assets and waive alimony in exchange for your agreement not to pursue the adultery claims." Chen looked at me. We'd discussed this moment extensively. 50-50 split of what assets? I asked. The house that's co-owned by my mother? The business I sold before she filed for divorce? The boat that's registered in someone else's name? Those transfers were made to defraud my client of her rightful share. Those transfers were made 6 months before your client filed for divorce, Chen interrupted, as part of routine estate planning that any competent financial advisor would recommend. Unless you're suggesting my client has psychic abilities? Lucy's lawyer opened his mouth, then closed it. We all knew he was grasping at straws. "What are you proposing?" he asked finally. My client keeps the assets currently in his name and control. Mrs. Richardson keeps her personal property, her car, and her jewelry. No alimony, no ongoing financial obligations beyond what's required for Daniel until he reaches 18. That's completely unreasonable. Is it? I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Hotel receipts going back 4 months. Phone records showing daily contact between your client and William Hartwell. Credit card statements for lingerie purchases and restaurant meals she never shared with me. Should I continue? Lucy finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. David, please, I made mistakes, but I don't deserve this. You don't deserve what, exactly? The consequences of your own choices? I deserve something after 23 years of marriage. You're getting something. You're getting your freedom to be with William without having to sneak around anymore. Isn't that what you wanted? Her composure finally cracked completely. You smug bastard! You think you're so smart, don't you? You have no idea what I sacrificed for this marriage, what I gave up. What did you give up, Lucy? Your job? No, I supported your career advancement. Your friends? No, I encouraged your social activities. Your independence? No, I never tried to control you or limit your choices. You gave up caring about me, she said, tears streaming down her face. When was the last time you told me I was beautiful? When was the last time you planned a romantic evening or surprised me with flowers or made me feel like I mattered? The accusation hit harder than I'd expected because there was truth in it. Somewhere along the way, we'd both stopped trying, but that didn't justify what she'd done. So you decided to find someone who would, I said quietly, instead of talking to me about it, instead of trying to fix what was broken. I tried talking to you, too. You were always working, always distracted, always focused on everything except me. And William was focused on you? Yes, he made me feel alive again, desired, important. Until he gets bored and moves on to the next client who catches his eye. That won't happen. It already has. I pulled out another document and slid it across the table. Lucy's face went white as she read it. What is that? Her lawyer asked. A private investigator's report, Chen said. It seems Mr. Hartwell has been seeing someone else for the past 3 weeks, a marketing executive from Chicago, younger than Mrs. Richardson, recently divorced, very attractive according to the photos. Lucy stared at the document like it was a snake that might bite her. This isn't real. You made this up. The investigator's contact information is at the bottom of the report. Feel free to verify it independently. The fight went out of her like air from a balloon. She slumped in her chair, suddenly looking older than her 45 years. He said he loved me, she whispered. I'm sure he did. At the time. Her lawyer cleared his throat. Perhaps we could take a brief recess to discuss. No, Lucy said. I'm done discussing. David, what do you want me to sign? Chen slid the settlement agreement across the table. Lucy read through it quickly, her lawyer pointing out various clauses and implications. In the end, it was simple. She would get her personal property and car, I would keep everything else, and we would both walk away clean. There's one more thing, I said as she reached for a pen. The rumors about my business practices need to stop. Today? I don't know what you're talking about? Yes, you do. One more call to any of my clients or associates, and I'll make sure everyone in your industry knows exactly why our marriage ended. Are we clear? She nodded without looking up. I need to hear you say it. We're clear. She signed the papers with shaking hands, her lawyer witnessing each signature with obvious reluctance. When it was done, Chen gathered the documents and shook hands with opposing counsel. The decree will be final in 30 days, he said, assuming no one changes their mind. Lucy stood up slowly, like someone recovering from a long illness. David, for what it's worth, I am sorry. Not for leaving. We both know this marriage was over, but for how I did it. You deserved better. Yes, I did. She walked out of the conference room without looking back. I watched her go, feeling something I hadn't expected, not satisfaction or vindication, but a profound sadness for what we'd both lost along the way. How do you feel? Chen asked when we were alone. Tired, relieved, empty. That's normal. The anger will fade and you'll be able to move forward. What about Lucy? She's lost everything. Her marriage, her boyfriend, probably her self-respect. That's not your responsibility anymore. She made her choices, and now she has to live with the consequences. I drove home to my empty house and sat in the kitchen where this had all started. The divorce papers were final, the assets were secure, and Lucy was out of my life forever. I'd won every battle and achieved every objective I'd set for myself. So why did victory feel so hollow? My phone rang. Emma calling from college. Dad? I heard about the settlement. Are you okay? I'm fine, sweetheart. Everything worked out. Mom called me crying. She says she has to move in with Aunt Jennifer. Temporarily, she'll figure something out. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you hate her? I thought about it for a long moment. No, honey, I don't hate her. I'm disappointed and I'm hurt, but I don't hate her. She's still your mother, and she loves you and Daniel very much. Will you ever forgive her? Someday, not today, but someday. After we hung up, I walked out to the garage and started working on the Mustang. The engine was perfect now, every component restored and functioning exactly as designed. Unlike marriages, classic cars could be fixed if you had the right tools and enough patience. Tomorrow I would start thinking about the future, what to do with the money from the business sale, whether to start another company, how to rebuild a life that had been torn apart and reassembled according to my specifications. Tonight, I just wanted to work with my hands and listen to the radio and pretend that winning was supposed to feel better than this. The Mustang's engine purred like a contented cat. At least something in my life was running smoothly. Outside, it started to rain.